على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اقتفى أثره واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. فإنشاءالله we'll pick back up reading from the book known as شرح اصول اعتقاد أهل السنة والجماعة للالكائي رحمه الله تعالى, the book known as the explanation of the fundamentals of the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah, that was authored by Al-Imam Abul Qasim Hibatullah, Al-Imam Abul Qasim Hibatullah ibn al-Husayn ibn Mansur al-Lalaka'i rahimahullah ta'ala, who died in the year 418 after the Hijrah. And last time we had began talking about some of the qualities of the people of Hadith. The author is in the process of explaining to us what makes a person from the people of Hadith and what are their qualities and how to differentiate between the people of Hadith and other than them. And so he started mentioning some of their qualities, and the recording cut off last time during the middle of that. And so we'll start back up from where we left off. The author rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, وَاخْتَاضَ بِهِمَ الْجَاحِدُونَ فإنهم السواد الأعظم والجمهور الأضخم فيهم العلم والحكم والعقل والحلم والخلافة والسيادة والملك والسياسة وهم أصحاب الجمعات والمشاهد والجماعات والمساجد والمناسك والأعياد والحج والجهاد وباذل المعروف للصادر والوارد وعمار الثغور والقناطر. Now he said واختاض بهم الجاحدون, that the people of denial, the people who disbelieve, they are frustrated by the people of the Sunnah. And we talked about how this is from the qualities of the people of denial with the people of the Sunnah, that the people of the Sunnah frustrate them. They frustrate them because they stand in their way and they prevent them from being able to carry out their desires and to spread their falsehood. And so being frustrated with the people of the Sunnah, then this is from the qualities of the people of denial, and this is from the qualities of the people of innovation. And so it should not be a quality of the person of the Sunnah. A person of the Sunnah should never be frustrated with the people of the Sunnah. And if he finds any difficulty from them or any transgression or mistake from them, then he yatahammal dhalik. He carries that and he suffers it and he's patient with it because he knows that the people, they come from a good place. The people of the Sunnah, they come from a good place, even if they are excessive at times, some of them, or extreme at times, some of them. They know that that desire and that care comes from a good place. But instead, it's the people of innovation and the people of denial, the people of falsehood, who are frustrated by the people of the Sunnah. And as far as the person of the Sunnah with the people of the Sunnah, then when he sees them upon some inappropriate quality or deficiency in action or expression or in the way that they communicate, then he strives for rectification and he strives to remove the fault while leaving and remaining the good qualities, right? He says, فَإِنَّهُمَ السَّوَادُ الْأَعْظَمُ, the people of the Sunnah are the Sawad al-A'zam. Ahlul Hadith are the Sawad al-A'zam. They're the major body, the masses of the people. And this was classically the case, for sure, without a doubt, that historically the majority of the people have been from Ahlul Hadith. They have been from Ahlul Sunnah, right? Their Aqidah hadn't been changed. Even in the existence of the various groups of innovation and the various groups of desire, you found that the common people, their position stayed the same. That old woman in Naysabur, that older man, that youth, that young individual, you find that their Aqidah was sound and their fundamentals were solid. Even if they weren't scholastically educated in those fields or they didn't receive a formal education in those affairs, you found that the majority of the people were from the people of Hadith. And so don't let the person of desire trick you by making a statement that is accepted at face value that the majority of the people have been Ash'ari, or the majority of the people have been Maturidi, or the majority of the people have been Sufi. This is not the case. In reality, the majority of the people have been Ahl Sunnah. But the thing is that perhaps maybe some of the loudest voices have come from the people of innovation. And an empty barrel or an empty wagon makes the most noise. The point of it is that the author is saying as-sawad al-a'zam is the people of hadith. This is classically. And in reality, this is contemporarily as well. When we look at the majority of the people, we should look at them with a looking of compassion and a looking of mercy towards them, because the majority of the people aren't the people of innovation, right? Instead, they're normal, common Muslims. Yes, there might be some deficiencies. Yes, there might be some inappropriateness in certain aspects, but the majority of the people are Ahl Sunnah, right? Even if they've fallen into a mistake here or there. So we should look at them as such. We should look at them with compassion. We should look at them with a desire to nourish what they have from those solid foundations, and to make sure we keep clean and remove whatever has been allowed to seep in. And just like any other water source, if it is surrounded by filth, then our job is to protect it from any filth getting into it and to clean out the filth that might be in it. And so even if there is filth around the edges, which is where we get our water from, we know that the main body of the water, the main part of the lake, the majority of it is pure. And this is the way that the people are historically and contemporarily. The majority of the people have been Ahl Sunnah, Ahlul Hadith. He says, والجمهور الأضخم, and they are the most largest majority, right? The people of Hadith are the largest majority of the people. فيهم العلم. Here he starts to get into some of the qualities that distinguish the people of the Sunnah, the people of Hadith. He says, in them there is knowledge. The knowledge is with us. The people of Hadith have always been distinguished by their appreciation, their seeking, their application, their seeking of a elevation through knowledge. And so this is from our unique qualities. The other groups, you don't find them being the people of knowledge. You don't find them being ascribed to knowledge the way you find the one who desires to be from the people of Hadith. Kaifa, how could that be the case when we know what knowledge is? And for any of those who are following along with us in Jami' Bayan al-Ilm wa Fadli, that comprehensive book clarifying what is knowledge and its virtues, then we know that knowledge is not just anything that a person puts a name to or gives a title or makes a category out of it. But instead, knowledge, as Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, it's been reported that he said, كل علم سوى القرآن مشغلة إلا الحديث وإلا الفقه في الدين العلم ما كان فيه قال حدثنا وما سوى ذاك فوسواس الشياطين. Every knowledge besides the Quran is a waste of time, except hadith and except having fiqh in the religion. Knowledge is that which contains the statement he narrated to us. And everything besides that is nothing more than the whispers of shaitan or the shayateen. And likewise, the statement of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, al-ilmu qala Allahu qala rasuluhu qala as-sahabatu hum ulul irfani. Knowledge is the statement Allah said, the messenger said, the sahaba said. They are the ones who are aware of things. So when we understand that knowledge is the statement of Allah, the statement of the Prophet, the statement of the Sahaba, then we understand that nobody has this quality of knowledge with them other than the people of Hadith. Not the Jahmiyyah, not the Mu'tazila, not the Asha'ira, not the Maturidiyya, not the Sufiyya, not any of these other Jama'at, because only the people of Hadith have the knowledge of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Salaf, the Sahaba. And this is why we summarize our name and our title to be known as the Salafi, because this is a word that embodies it all. He says, wal hikam, yani fihim al hikam. They also have wisdom. They know how to put things where it belongs. So not only do we have knowledge, and this knowledge is what leads to action, and that action over time is what we gain experience from it. We've learned what's right and wrong, and we've applied it, and we've seen how to apply it in its various situations. So not only is there a scholastical awareness, but there's also a practical application and awareness of the knowledge that we have that is embodied through wisdom. And this is why you see that having a companionship with the scholar is such an important thing, because by experiencing the scholar, an individual experiences wisdom. And this is often what is missing from the youth. And that's the reason why those whom Allah has blessed, those whom Allah has blessed from us with a sense of education or some information, you can tell the difference between the youthful individual and how he approaches that information, as opposed to the one who has been seasoned and the one who has gained experience and thus has wisdom. And so this is a quality from the qualities of the people of the Sunnah, is that they possess wisdom. Wal aql. And they are also, in them is intelligence, al aql. And we talked about last time how al aql is linguistically that which holds someone back, that which makes a person refrain and restrict themselves, right? But religiously, when we talk about al-aql, what we're speaking about is the character. This is a quality of Ahl Sunnah. That's why Ibn Hibban, rahimahullah ta'ala, he wrote that book called Rawdatul Uqala, the gardens of the intellectuals. And the first hadith he brings it is the hadith about husnul khuluq, good character, because that is intelligence. Good character is the sign and the reality of what is intelligence. And so the people of hadith, this is also from our qualities, that we are the people of intelligence. We refrain and we hold ourselves back from things that are unsuitable. And by doing so, we exemplify good character. He says about them as well, wal hilm, wa fihim al hilm. They are also the people who display, or in them is tolerance and forbearance. We are tolerant. And you don't find any group of people more tolerant of the people and the deficiencies than the people of hadith. Right? Wasbir. كما صبر أولي العزم من الرسل. Right? والذين وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Right? We understand that there are deficiencies in everyone. And so you find us tolerant. You find us the most accepting of disagreement, the most tolerant of alternate views, as long as those alternate views are based on the correct fundamentals and the correct methodology. And so when they attack the people of the Sunnah by saying they are intolerant or intolerant, they don't give the excuse, they always look for fault, they always cause a problem, then this is obviously out of a lack of understanding of the people of the Sunnah. Because the people of hadith have always been described as being the most tolerant. But the difference is that we tolerate what can be tolerated. And we do not tolerate falsehood. We do not tolerate what is outside the bounds. And so if a person wants to put his hands on his chest or on his side after ruku', tafaddal, whichever one you think is the strongest. And if a person prays 11 for tarawih, or 23, or 36, or 39, no problem. These are issues that the Salaf were upon. But if a person wants to speak about Allah incorrectly, then you find our tolerance ending. And so it should be understood that there is a difference between tolerance, which is the quality of Ahl Sunnah, and an abandoning of the fundamentals and an opening the doorway for falsehood, which is from the qualities of the people of innovation. They say, let us be quiet about what we disagree about and only talk about what we agree about. And this is from the false principles that are intended to gather the people under one banner without there being any truth in their unity. But as far as the people of the Sunnah, then they don't have a need to adopt such methods, because it is Allah who has gathered their hearts, even in the affairs that they disagree about. So when I disagree with my Salafi brother about a topic, you don't find it causing separation, because I know that their fundamentals and my fundamentals are the same. And so I pray behind somebody who doesn't make wudu after eating camel's meat, even though I believe eating camel's meat nullifies your wudu and therefore it is wajib, because we're tolerant. But you don't find us opening the door for falsehood. And so that's an important distinction that we need to make between who Ahl Sunnah is and isn't, and are we described with that quality? Are we kicking our brothers and our sisters out of the fold of Salafiyah for issues that don't deserve them to be kicked out? And this is why you hear some of the people attacking or levying complaints against some of our brothers of a tahazzub or hizbiyah, because this is their quality, to exclude someone out because of disagreement. As far as Ahl Sunnah, then no, we're tolerant in disagreement. And we understand that as long as the foundation and the fundamentals of the person is correct, then that doesn't exclude them from being from or included in the boundaries of or the da'irah of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So he mentions that in us there is hilm or tolerance. And he mentions that with us there is the khilafah, right? The leadership is with us. The real khilafah is with us. And there's a lot of ways we can go in this statement. And we talked about it last time, although the audio got cut off. And we're just breezing through it now without trying to go into too much detail. But the two ways that we'll address this statement, that in the people of the Sunnah there is the khilafah, or the three ways, is obviously classically the khilafah, the people of the Sunnah were the ones in charge. When you look at Bani Umayyah, when you look at Bani Abbas, you find that predominantly, even when you look at the rulers in the Umara and the Salatin after that, you find that a lot of them were upon the way of the Salaf, right? And in spite what they might have gotten into of politics and worldly affairs, you found that the Aqidah was the Aqidah of the Salaf. Often, very more often than not. And so they were the people who had the leadership. And that's why you find that all throughout the time, there was a connection between leadership and scholarship. Even when the people of innovation got some authority in the land, they got that authority by claiming that they were the people of hadith and having the leaders follow them in that. When you talk about the time period of Al-Ma'mun and Al-Mu'tasam and Al-Wathiq, right? The Mu'tazila were making the claim that they were from the people of the Sunnah. And this is how they got the leaders on their sides. And this is why you find that the people of the Sunnah are often very protective of who we include amongst Ahl Sunnah, in order that the people aren't misled. And so when you find somebody saying the statement like Ahl Sunnah is three, the Asha'ira and the Maturidi and the Athari, then this is falsehood. And the person of hadith would never allow such a statement to go unchecked. Because by allowing this statement to go unchecked, it gives a false representation of Islam. And this is a statement made by one who does not understand the reality of the Asha'ira or the Maturidi, as opposed to the person who is Athari. And how could they all be the people of hadith and the Salaf and the people of the Sunnah when two of those groups without a doubt are new and invented? And they don't enjoy a relationship classically during the time of the Sahaba or the Tabi'een or the Atba' Tabi'een, even for that matter. Now, the second aspect that we could go to regarding that amongst the people of the Sunnah there is the Khilafah, is that there won't be an establishing of the Khilafah until we establish the Sunnah. And this is an important point. We find often that nowadays from the deviant groups or those who try to make the claim that their desire is to reestablish the Islamic caliphate and to establish the Islamic empire in the Islamic lands. And we say that there won't be any establishing and any uniting until the people are upon the Sunnah, right? And how could they gather together unless they gathered upon the Sunnah? Because the Khilafah is with the people of Hadith. So there won't be a Khilafah until the people are back upon what they were upon when there was a Khilafah. And you can look at the ayat of Allah, the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for that when Allah says, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah has promised those who have iman and work righteous actions from you that he will establish for them the khilafah in the earth. And so there is no khilafah without this iman and without this amal salih. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. And we made from them leaders guiding with our command when they had patience and they had certainty in our signs. And so like this, the khilafah is in the people of hadith, i.e. there won't be an establishing of the khilafah until the people are back upon the way of the people of hadith. And so for all of those individuals who strive to reestablish Islamic dominance in the land, then the dominance of Islam is through establishing the dominance of the Sunnah and the dominance of the Quran, the dominance of Tawheed, the dominance of Iman. These are the things that bring about the goodness for the people, and there is no khilafah outside of that. The third aspect of the way we could go with this statement and end them is the khilafah, is that they are the ones who deserve the khilafah. They are the most entitled to it. From the things that we were just reading today, for example, the biography of Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who was from the Fuqaha al-Sab'a, the 7 scholars of Medina, who was well known for hadith and fiqh. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who was an outlier from the Khulafa of Bani Umayyah, being not from the children of Abdul Malik. But in spite of that, Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik put him in charge. And Umar ibn Abdul Aziz did a great job and was from the most notable and most righteous rulers in Islam. He said, if I were to make the decision, right, if I had the ability to decide who would be the ruler after me, I would have made it Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, right? But Imam Malik, he says, by that time, Yazid ibn Abdul Malik had already been given the crown prince, or he had already been named the next in charge after Umar ibn Abdul Aziz would pass. And so Umar ibn Abdul Aziz didn't have the option to appoint whomever he wanted. But the point is that Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he recognized that the person most deserving of the khilafah was the best of the people from the people of hadith. And thus he would have given him the charge of the Muslims. And like this, the people who deserve to be in charge of the Muslims are the people of hadith. And so like this, it should be our role in our societies. The people of hadith should be given the charge of the masjids. The people of hadith should be given the charge of the Jumu'ah. The people of hadith should be given the charge of the Eid. It should be behind them and with them that we establish these acts of worship, because they are the ones who deserve it. And so by going to the masjid of the people of innovation, this is the reason why you find them often encouraging us to bolster up the numbers and the participation in the masjids of the people of the Sunnah, so that the dominance would be for them, because they are the ones who are entitled to it. And by them being dominant, the community becomes predominantly upon the Sunnah. And it makes it easier for the people to practice the Sunnah, because the majority is doing it. And the common people are for whoever comes first. So if we get the majority of the people in an environment where it is the Sunnah, you'll find that the majority of the people will be upon the Sunnah. And so everything we do to the contrary of that is something that reduces the people's ability to follow the Sunnah. And this is why it's unfortunate that you see in so many communities the Salafi masjid being the smallest masjid, the apartment building, not even a masjid, but a musalla. You find, but it starts with us establishing ourselves first and getting rid of all of these things that separate us, that don't deserve to separate us. And by working together, by establishing the Sunnah, and then like this, we'll find that the people will come along. Now, he says, وَفِيهِمَ السِّيَادَةِ, in them is the nobility. And this is self-explanatory. The people of hadith are the most noble of the people. And is there any nobility higher than knowledge? يَرْفَعُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. Allah raises those that have iman from you and those who have been given knowledge to high levels. هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Are they the same? Those who know and those who don't? Right? Like this is the nobility. إِنَّ مَنْ يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whomever Allah wants good for him, he gives him understanding of the religion. يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. He gives wisdom to whom he wills. And whomever has been given wisdom, then he has been given an abundance of good. So the nobility is for the people of hadith. And this is how it's been classically, and this is how it is today. And so for those who strive for honor and nobility, then upon them is the way of the people of hadith. وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَكِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ. Now, he says, to Allah is the honor, and to his messenger, and to those that have iman, but those who are hypocrites, they don't understand. The author, he says, وَفِيهِمَ الْمُلْكِ. The people of hadith, they have in them the dominance and the authority. And in them is the politics, the siyasa, the leadership. And these are all things that clarify the reality. Often you find people saying that the Salafi is against politics, the Salafi is outside of affairs of the states, and the opposite couldn't be truer. We are the people of politics, but our politics are the politics of the Quran and the Sunnah, right? We let them guide how we determine and how we carry ourselves in affairs of politics. So when the Quran says listen and obey, and the Sunnah says listen to obey, then our politics is listen and obey. And we don't protest, we don't boycott, we don't do all of these things that are from the politics of the kuffar. We don't have democracy. We don't have these foreign ideals that they have introduced amongst us. Our politics is the Quran and the Sunnah. What's that ayat? I forgot the ayat last time, and I'm forgetting it right now. Let's get the ayat so I can actually remember it next time, because I remember we brought it up last time when we recorded this the first time, and I forgot the ayat at that time too. Subhanallah. I want to say it is Susu. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Be patient with me. Surah Al-A'raf. This is Surah Al-A'raf. No. Subhanallah. This is going to bother me now, so I apologize. Susu. There's the hadith of the Prophet, Kanat Bani Israel Tasusuhum al-Anbiya, but there's an ayat in the Quran. What's the ayat? This is going to bother me. Ala kulli hal, the ayat is escaping me right now. But the point is that their siyasa, their politics was through the way of the prophets. Kanat Bani Israel Tasusuhum al-Anbiya. The children of Israel, they were led in their siyasa by the prophets. And likewise, Allah talks about it in the Quran similar, that the thing that led them in their politics was the Quran, was their book and their revelation and their prophets. And likewise for us, the thing that leads us in our politics is the Quran and the Sunnah. And so these are some of the qualities that he mentioned about the people of hadith, some of the ways that you can recognize if someone is or isn't from them, and some of the ways that you can recognize, are you adherent to their, or are you embodying their qualities or not. He says, وَهُمْ أَصْحَابُ الْجُمُعَاتِ, and they are the people of the Jumu'at. They are the people who attend and who establish the Jumu'at, the various Jumu'ahs of the land. Then it is them who establish them, as well as the mashahid, as well as the places of importance or the places of religious importance. Then they are the ones who establish them as well. The people of hadith are the people who are the ones in charge of these things. Likewise, ashabul jama'ati wal masajid, they're the ones who establish the congregational prayers in the masajid. and they are the ones who establish the Eids. I'm sorry, the rites of pilgrimage and the Eids, as well as the Hajj and Jihad. And they have spent all that they can from what is ma'ruf for those who are coming and who are going. And they're the ones who establish the front lines of the battlefield, as well as the fortresses. All of these things are just meant to show some of the qualities. And obviously, we won't go into too much detail about all of them. We went into it last time, but for the sake of brevity, a person can paint the picture of how these qualities are relevant to the people of Hadith. They're the ones who established the Jumu'at and the Islamic places of importance. They're the ones who established the congregational prayer in themselves and in the masajid. They're the ones who are behind the establishing of the ritual acts of Hajj, or the pilgrimage rites, as well as the celebrations, the Eids, right? They're the ones who establish Hajj and Jihad, right? It is us, the people of the Sunnah, who are really, truthfully those who establish these qualities. They are the ones who spend good for those who come and who go, and they are the ones who establish the front lines and the fortresses. The author, he goes on to say, and we want to move forward. He says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِ وَاتَّبَعُوا رَسُولَهُ عَلَى مِنْهَاجِ الَّذِينَ أَذْكَارُهُم فِي الزُّهْدِ مَشْهُورَةٌ وأنفاسهم على الأوقات محفوظة وآثارهم على الزمان متبوعة ومواعظهم للخلق زاجرة وإلى طرق الآخرة داعية فحياتهم للخلق منبهة ومسيرهم إلى مصيرهم لمن بعدهم عبرة وقبورهم مزارة ورسومهم على الدهر غير دارسة وعلى تطاول الأيام غير ناسية. Now, one of the things that a person should keep in mind is that the people of innovation, they like that they be the ones recognized with certain qualities, and that they be the ones who people attribute these qualities to. Like you see different jama'at, they like to be known as the ones who have good character, or different jama'at, they like to be known as the ones who establish knowledge and are educated. And different jama'at, they like to be those who are known as the ones who do battle. And different jama'at like to be known as the ones who are devout in their worship. All of that being the case, the author here is showing you that the people who really do these qualities are the people of Hadith. And so there's not one quality that the people of innovation desire for themselves, except that the people of Hadith have always been at the forefront of those qualities. So he says they are the ones who do jihad truly in the path of Allah, the way it should be done. And they are the ones who follow the messenger upon his minhaj. And they are the ones who are remembered for their, who are famous and well remembered for their aestheticism, for their zuhd, for their abandonment of the dunya. And their lives are the ones that have been detailed in their descriptions preserved. And their actions, their athar, have been followed throughout time. And their admonitions that they gave to the creation were those that really conveyed good reprimand. And their way, they are the ones who called to the various pathways that will lead to success in the hereafter. And their life for the creation was one that drew attention and gave good indications. And their destination, and their traveling to their destination for those that came after them, was a point of reflection. And their graves were the ones that were visited. And their writings were the ones that will never be erased by time. And nor will they be erased by the long passages of days. They won't be forgotten. So think about all of the qualities of the various different deviant groups that you can. Jihad. Nope. People of Hadith have always been at the forefront of jihad. Talk about jihad. Go ahead and look at who they're going to mention at the beginning of it and at the forefront of it. the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, whoever you want to. When you want to talk about jihad, it's the people of hadith. Even recently, when you talk about the first Afghan war, who were there? The people of hadith, right? They're the ones who follow the methodology of the Prophet, the minhaj of the Prophet. Let's look. Who are the ones who have always been acting like the Prophet? So the people who claim that they're the ones that are like the Prophet, no, we say it's always been the people of hadith. They're the ones who are known and remembered for their aestheticism, their monasticism, how they avoided the dunya. It's always been the people of hadith. Imam Ahmed, Fudayl ibn Iyad, right? Abu Dharr. They've always been the people of hadith. It wasn't the Sufis at the forefront of that. It was the people of hadith. They're the ones who the details of their lives had been preserved. Right? When you look at the biographies in the books, you don't find anybody having the lives detailed the way the people of hadith were detailed. Their actions have been the ones followed throughout time. When you look at the people that were emulated and copied, it was always the people of hadith. Go to any of the books. Even the people of innovation claim and try to establish that they're the ones following the people of hadith. The people of hadith were the ones who gave the good, heart-moving admonitions and reminders. The qusas, the wu'af, those people who would address and they had real good speech and would make your heart tremble. It wasn't the orators and the storytellers. It was always the people of hadith. They're the ones who would reprimand the people and forbid the evil. They were the ones who would soften the heart and call the people to paradise. It's always been the people of hadith at the forefront of these fields. Their life is the one that indications are derived from them. When you want to know the right way, the wrong way, you would look at the life of the people of hadith. And they're traveling on their destination for those that came after them was a point of reflection. These are the people, when we talk about who do we try to emulate and who we try to learn and copy about how they lived and that we take lessons from their life stories, it's always been the people of hadith. They're the ones that their graves are visited. Right? Even the people, when it comes to visiting graves, and we're not saying that you go out and make a trip to visit the graves, but even the people who their graves were visited throughout history, right? It was the people of hadith. It was the people of the Sunnah, right? And when we're in their town, we go to Baqi' and we give salam. We go and visit the graves. If we're in an area and we happen to go past the graveyard, we're visiting the people of hadith. And so because of this, it is their traces and their writings that time will never erase, nor will the passages of days cause them to be forgotten. And so there's no quality that the people of innovation, the people of desire want for themselves, except that it was for the people of hadith at the forefront of it. And so these are the qualities of the people of hadith and the ways that you can recognize them. Lastly, for today, he says, يُعَرِّفُ اللَّهُ إِلَى الْقُلُوبِ مَحَبَّتِهِمْ وَيَبْعَثُهُمْ عَلَى حِفْظِ مَوَدَّتِهِمْ يُزَارُونَ فِي قُبُورِهِمْ كَأَنَّهُمْ أَحْيَاءٌ فِي بُيُوتِهِمْ لِيَنْشُرُ اللَّهَ لَهُمْ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهِمْ الْأَعْلَامِ حَتَّى لَا تَنْدَرِسَ أَذْكَارُهُمْ عَلَى الْأَعْوَامِ وَلَا تَبْلَى أَسَامِيهِمْ عَلَى مَرِّ الْأَيَّامِ فَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَرِضْوَانُهُ وَجَمَعَنَا وَإِيَّاهُمْ فِي دَارِ السَّلَامِ. He says that Allah makes it known to the hearts that they should love these individuals, right? A person can't help but fall in love with these personalities and these people of hadith. He says, and he raises them up, and he erects the people to preserve the love of these people. You don't find any generation of scholars, any madhab, any school of thought, except that they're constantly reminding the people about the Salaf, the Hanafi, the Shafi'i, the Maliki, the Hanbali, all of the different groups. They're constantly reminding the people to love the Salaf, the people of hadith. Yuzaruna fi quburihim. And these people, these righteous people of hadith, they actually visit each other in the grave, right? After they die, they interact, their souls interact with each other as if they were alive in their homes. And this is from the blessings of Allah, that they get to interact with each other in the graves and that's an issue for an Aqidah class. But this is a point that Ibn Qayyim and others mention, that the souls visit each other. And those who haven't died yet, when their souls are out of their body when they sleep, they visit the souls of the deceased, and they interact with each other. Allah does all of this so that he can raise them or resurrect them after their death with the banners that others will follow. And all this love that he puts in the hearts of people is so their remembrance will never leave or never vanish from the general masses, nor will their names dry up with the passage of days. These people's names are constantly mentioned. You can't read a book of hadith except that you see these names. And all of this, the author is doing to set up the actual just subtle asma'ihim. He's going to have a section very shortly where all he does is just mention who a lot of them were. And so he's setting you up to want to know about them and to want to love them. And for this reason, we say it's very important for the student of knowledge to remind and to be familiar with who the people of the Sunnah are, who the people of Hadith are, who the Salaf were. He says, so may the mercy of Allah be upon him in his pleasure, and may he gather us and them together in the home of, or the abode of, safety and peace. So this is him concluding that introduction to some of the qualities of the people of Hadith and what were their preferences and the things that made them better, why they were called the people of Hadith, and like a tashweeq, like an encouraging you to get familiar with them and to adopt their way. After that, the author is going to talk about how Allah preserved the religion with them, and we'll talk about that next time. Hada wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. We shouldn't argue over ijtihad. Arguing in the religion is never encouraged, right? Except in very, limited circumstances. But ijtihad is just that. But the reality is that we should understand that not everything we say is ijtihad, right? Ijtihad is a statement of a scholar without evidence, or not based on direct evidence, right? Ma qalahu yani al-mujtahid bila dalil, right? So that ijtihad, and it could also be al-istinbat, when he derives from the evidence and things like that. But the point is that it's a quality of a scholar. It's not the quality of a common person. So before we get to the statement that we shouldn't argue over ijtihad, which is true, we should know that most of the time what we are saying isn't ijtihad. What we are saying is a repeating of the opinion of someone else. And so therefore, we definitely shouldn't argue over that, because as Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah talks about in Iqtidas Sirat al-Mustaqim, most of the time when people argue, they are one of three categories. Either they don't know what they're talking about to begin with, or they know their side, but they don't know the other's opponent's side, or they know their side and they're familiar with the opponent's side, but they don't value it the way that it should be valued, and thus they disregard it. But in any circumstance, we should never argue, especially the likes of us, because we're just common people, right? And we should leave the debating and the argumentation to the scholars. Our job should be to learn and practice. And you can't learn and practice if you're busy arguing. So instead, busy yourself with that which will benefit you. Ihras ala ma yanfa'ak. Be diligent about that which will benefit you. Wasta'in billah. And seek Allah's help. Wala ta'jaz. And don't be from those who are incapable. Learn the qualities that are necessary for you to make ijtihad, so that one day you might be from its people. But you should never argue about ijtihad, let alone the things that we do. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Is it permissible for a Muslim to have in corporate America, say, for example, having a job, government, or White House? I don't know. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How should we respond to people having negative views about the Salafi minhaj because they expect perfection from the people, or who try to be on that minhaj? Obviously, there's a difference between the minhaj and the person, and all of the people are deficient. But the way that we can deal with and respond to that is to be good examples, to be better, right? For us, right? Some people aren't going to appreciate the Salafi minhaj regardless, and there's no convincing them, right? They have al-hiqq, they have mu'anada. So no matter what happens, they won't accepted. فهذا يعني خلاص أيسنا من. We've given up hope from them. But as far as the common person, then as we said, most of the time the common person is already on the Salafi minhaj. Even if they're not understanding of it in detail, they know the basics of the religion. And so the way that we can deal with them is by being good examples of the Salafi minhaj, which requires us to learn it. Learn it in Aqidah, learn it in action, learn it in practice, which requires us to, first and foremost, adorn ourselves with the knowledge and the action, which requires us to have a relationship with the people of knowledge. Because as we mentioned, that wisdom is what we get through them. Why did the people gather on Bin Baz, rahimahullah, the way that they gathered around him? Why did they gather around Uthaymin, rahimahullah, the way that they gathered around him? Al-Muwafiq wal-Mukhalif. Why did the person of innovation who hated Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, has no choice, but when he talks about a hadith to say, Sahahu al-Albani, or Da'afahu al-Albani? They have no choice. So how did they deal with it, right? Instead of involving ourselves in the back and forth and the bickering and the fighting, we deal with these things by being good examples. Let the people see Salafiyah through our actions and then calling the people to it directly, clarifying what is right and what is wrong from it, pointing out the mistakes of our brothers with good advice, calling to the good and forbidding the evil. These are all things that we should do. But as far as that group who no matter what you do, they won't accept it from you, we've given up hope on them. Allah ta'ala alam. They see the shortcomings of the people and associate those shortcomings to the Salafi minhaj. Like we said, some of those people are the people who are just looking for a way to criticize, because every rational, reasonable person knows that there's a difference between the goal and the minhaj itself, the way and the person on it. And which of us isn't free of sin? Which of us isn't defective in some way? So to attribute the defect to the religion of Allah because of some of the defectiveness of the creation of Allah is foolishness in any way. And any rational person recognizes that. Does anybody say that Islam is the wrong religion because some Muslims are shot out? Does anybody say that even the kuffar amongst themselves, does anybody say that Christianity is a religion of racism because the Ku Klux Klan claim Christianity? Right? We have to understand that there's a difference between the person and the belief and the act, the minhaj, the methodology. And so if a person is fair, he already knows this, and it's not a big need to explain it to him. The person who uses this as a means to bolster their argument, right, where you always find them saying, well, it's always this or it's always that, nothing is good, like, and they always quick to throw names and accusations. These people are the people who in reality, there's something in their heart and they don't necessarily really want the truth, even if they try to show off like they do. Allah knows best. The people always speak bad about the people of the Sunnah because they stick to the haqq. Yes, no, that's true. Alaikum salam, ahsanallahu alaikum. A lay person, should we ignore the refutations and warnings amongst the Salafis and continue taking knowledge from individuals who have been refuted or warned against? Warned against by who? Refuted by who? As a lay person, you should learn who the scholars are and busy yourself with the scholars and try to do as much as you can to be in their presence. And to be in their presence, to benefit them, starts with you learning the Arabic. As a lay person, your first primary objective should be to learn the Arabic language, because this gives you direct access and direct ability to benefit. As far as the abundant warnings amongst the Salafis, then that becomes a case-by-case situation, right? And it should never be thought that when a brother warns against another brother that it should just be disregarded. But instead, we have to look, because unfortunately, sometimes some of our brothers have misapplied the principles of Ahl Sunnah in regard to warning, in regard to when to warn, when not to warn, who to warn from, and how to react to somebody who's been warned against. What have they been warned against? And all of this is a lesson in and of itself that the scholars have addressed. And unfortunately, for most of the lay people who don't speak Arabic, a lot of these things still remain ambiguous. But at the end of the day, although you do find separation and dissension at times and disagreement even amongst the scholars about some of these individuals and some of these actions, you find that more often than not, people are more connected than you would be led to think. So that person that is being warned against because they listen to so-and-so from the mashayikh, when we're talking about the ulama of Ahl Sunnah. And so somebody listens to this person from the ulama of Ahl Sunnah who has been warned against by this scholar from the ulama of Ahl Sunnah. And so the common person comes and tries to warn against you because you listen to this person. You'll find that a friend of that scholar that they're warning against you is a friend of the scholar who warns against you, right? And obviously to cross the T's and dot the I's, there's an abundance of examples. When we talk about Sheikh Rabi Hafidhullah and Sheikh Ubaid, Sheikh Muhammad Hafidhullah, Sheikh Ubaid Rahimahullah, and when the fitna between them and some of the Mashaykh of Kuwait and those who were on both sides, like Sheikh Suleiman and things like that, or nowadays you got this scholar. And so a lot of these things you'll find out that most of the time they're not that difficult to navigate, and they're not anything new, right? Ibn Hajar and Badruddin al-Aini, they had what they had between them. And the students of Ibn Hajar would go sit and learn from Badruddin al-Aini, to the extent that some of Ibn Hajar's students would take Badruddin al-Aini's, would take Ibn Hajar's Fath al-Bari as he was writing it to Badruddin al-Aini to have him look at it and read it, which allowed Badruddin al-Aini to produce Umdatul Qari, his explanation of Sahih al-Bukhari, in which he often criticizes and refutes Ibn Hajar. And so when the student is involved in the circles of the people of knowledge, and he takes from the people of knowledge directly, and he's aware of the people of knowledge, you don't find him hindered by these arguments that are often only relevant and only prevalent in the non-Arabic speaking communities where there's a funneling of the information. But in any circumstance, I suggest a person go back to the people of knowledge that they rely on and seek their insight about every single situation on a case-by-case basis. And often you'll find that a lot of times that the people that are being warned against, they're not necessarily warned against. It's somebody, doing math. Well, if the scholar said this and this person, I think, is doing that, then the scholar is warning against this person, when a lot of times it's not the case. And if you were to look at the statements that the scholars make about foolishness and wrong opinions and criticize, and then look at what other scholars said those opinions and had those actions, right? I remember reading a statement of our Sheikh Hamid al-Uthman Hafidhullah in his book about Qawaid and Usul, and he mentioned that the people who say wiping over your sandals without socks is a foolish opinion that no person should ever have. And this is the opinion of Al-Albani rahimahullah, and this is the opinion of Uthaymeen. And do I think that Sheikh Hamid was talking about, I'm not Uthaymeen, Ibn Taymiyyah. Do I think that Sheikh Hamid was talking about Al-Albani and Ibn Taymiyyah in this regard? Absolutely not. But because I've experienced and I've been around scholarship, I know how not to apply that general statement to a specific situation, where you find that often the youth amongst us, they do exactly that. Well, Sheikh said so-and-so, or the Sheikh said this, so whoever did this is it. And obviously the conversation goes long. Allah knows best. Does a refutation necessitate to not take from that person? Whose refutation? And what is the refutation about? But generally speaking, not necessarily. A refutation is refuting something that you think is incorrect. And it depends. Are you correct or not? Who determines if you're correct or not? All of these things are affairs for the educated and the scholars amongst us. They're not for us. They're not for the common people to get bogged down with. Have you perfected your Fatiha yet? Did you memorize any hadith yet? Right? We're so busy about, right? Khalas. Let somebody be refuted. Is he the only person that you can benefit from? I remember being in a gathering with Sheikh, who was there? Sheikh Salih Suhaimi, I want to say Sheikh Suleiman was there, and others of our mashayikh, and there was some discord between some of our brothers here in this community and about a particular individual who's passed away now. And the Sheikh Hafidhullah gave good advice. Treat that person as if he's dead, right? Treat that person as if he doesn't exist. That person, is he the only resource that you have for your religion? If there's going to come a sense of separation because of this person, then go to the people that there's no separation about. right? Do we argue about Sheikh Fawzan? Do we argue about Sheikh Abdul Muhsin? Did we argue about Sheikh Muhammad Bazmul, for example? Are we arguing about these people? Go to them, learn the religion, benefit, get the information that you need. And then if the situation comes up where so-and-so is in your town or so-and-so is giving a class and you need to know what you need to do because you might want to benefit from that class or not, ask the people of knowledge, right? But don't let these things be issues that separate the community. And I remember asking Sheikh Salih Suhaimi generations ago, maybe 20 years ago now, when I had first come back, and in my city, there were people who were, if you want to call it, on the other side of the aisle in regards to some of these issues. Because remember, none of these issues are new. These issues have been going on for, decades. And I remember asking Sheikh Salih about it. What should I do in my circumstance? Because these people are engaging with people that I consider to be innovators at the time. And they were interacting and they were going, to that city to visit him and things like this. And the Sheikh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he gave great advice. He said, don't participate with them when they do something like that, but don't do anything that will increase your separation amongst each other. Right? When they go to this city to visit that individual who I'm unsure about, I don't have to go. I don't have to be in the car with them when they go visit this person or go to that lecture, but I don't have to do anything that increases our separation. And this is obviously when we're talking about people who are all generally under the banner of Salafiyya. We're not talking about those who their expulsion from Salafiyya is obvious. But if there's a sheikh that there's disagreement about amongst the people in your community, then disregard them. Go and learn from those who are not disagreeable amongst you. And like this, you'll busy yourself with learning and you won't be busy with things that take you away from that. And Allah knows best. Are the people of fiqh are known as the people of hadith? Yes. I mean, when we say the people of hadith, we're talking about the people on the aqid of the minhaj of Sunnah والجماعة, right? That's another term for the people of hadith. And the people of hadith were the people of fiqh, right? And there's a difference, even the people of ra'i, right? When you talk about the people of hadith and the people of ra'i, we're not talking about the people of fiqh and the people of hadith, but that's a different conversation. Wa iyyakum jami'an. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.